one.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
The Truth Network.
Right now.
Ooh.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it. Hit it.
It's time for Max World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Call Matt 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
All right, now listen up.
Exclusively on The Truth Network, 99.3 The Truth FM.
6 minutes after 3 o'clock on the third day of May in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Max World Live for a Tuesday. Want to remind you, testify tomorrow. Marcus Burrier. You're thinking, Burrier, I know the name. David Burrier, his son, who survived cancer 15, 16 years ago, was suspected to have it again. They operated. I won't tell you the ending of the story, but his story is amazing. God is all over this boy's. He's not a boy. He's 34 years old. But it's all over this man's story. So come on out to Urbandale Pizza Ranch. If you don't eat, it's free. If you want to eat, it's whatever. What's the cost of the buffet? I know you usually get 2 at a time, but what is it? $9, something like that?
Bob put his hand up for $10. I think it's just shy of $10, isn't it?
If you add in tax.
Over.
Okay.
It goes over $10, yeah.
So you don't have to eat if you don't want, but if you've never been to a pizza ranch, it's kind of funny. People either love the pizza ranch or they don't.
Yes, that is true. It is it's all or nothing with pizza.
Yeah,
ranch.
love that roasted chicken.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
I like it a lot.
Noon to 1 is the testimony. We usually get together about 11:30. We hang around till about 1:30. It's both male and female. Can I still say boy, girl, or is that outlawed now? That's not hate speech yet?
That's not hate speech, no.
Is it hate speech, Frank?
It's verboten.
No.
Verboten?
No.
Yes.
It's for both men and women and children.
Sure.
There's no age limit. Bob, you can still come. You can use your senior citizen pass.
True.
And if you want to bring the kids on out. It's tomorrow, noon to 1. If you've never been to a testify, here's what it is. We open it up. We ask for prayer requests. Somebody prays. Tell you a little bit about what's going on at the radio station. And then Marcus Burrier will get up and give his testimony. It's an in-person live testimony. And then at the end, it's Q&A or whatever you want to do.
Well, Mac, you know what I love about it is I love meeting new people. There's a great opportunity for fellowship, network with other Christian believers. And also, every time I go, I come away challenged or inspired in some way. Now, sometimes I don't always feel really great because the testimony reminds me that, hey, you know what, I've been being lazy with my life. But most of the time, I'm really encouraged. I'm built up in my faith, and I figure, that and lunch, that's a good time. You're going to eat lunch anyway. Do it with some other folks. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, and it's really a great bunch of people. And by the way, it's a small crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, we sometimes will get 30, but most of the time it's about a dozen, 14.
Yeah.
Very intimate. We'd love to have you. Now, if David Burrier invites some friends, we might get up to like 16. Or he could invite all his listeners, and then we'd get to 17.
Yeah.
Because his show is every Saturday, 10 a.m. I've been there. You can watch that there. All right. The comments about to be made on this program are the opinions of J. Michael McCoy and not necessarily those of the Truth Network, 99.3, Chris Roloff, Frank DeVerse Thomas, Bob Montserrat, or Jeb. I'm going to ask you to do something that I don't ask you to do very often. I'm not a big protest guy. I didn't ask you to join the Target protest or the boycott. I just don't. That's not my deal. I certainly have been called an activist before, but I'm usually only an activist with a microphone in front of me. I have carried baby killer signs around Planned Parenthood before. I think that's the only time I've ever picketed. Did I ever picket anything else? Oh, I picketed the Vietnam War.
Did you really?
Yeah, but if you're a Vietnam War veteran, I totally respect you. Totally respect you. I was mad at Hanoi Jane. And for some reason, that has stuck. That just shows you that my forgiveness isn't quite up to Jesus' par yet. Because I still think what she did is horrible.
Treason.
Hanoi Jane. Anyway, if you agree with what I'm about to say, and don't do it for me, do it for Rick Friday of Lemoore. Do it for a farmer in Lorimore. I said that wrong. Lorimore. He is a Northern Iowa freelance cartoonist. He was fired for drawing an editorial cartoon that bemoaned Iowa farmers' dwindling profits while CEOs at large agricultural corporations earn millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And by the way, I don't buy into that. You know, the CEO makes too much money. I mean, these are. I don't have any idea. Do you have any idea what it's like to run a multi-billion-dollar publicly held corporation? I have no idea. But I can only imagine that the heartburn is worse than working with Frank. So, if you don't agree with this, you don't have to do it. But I want you to write down a phone number, 515-574-4451. That is not my number. That is the Fort Dodge Messenger, a newspaper, because I believe they have infringed upon, trampled on, forfeited Mr. Friday's First Amendment right, freedom of speech. Here's what happened. So Rick Friday of Lorimore said on his Facebook page that the Farm News, a weekly publication of the Fort Dodge Messenger, dropped him, fired him, as the publication's editorial cartoonist after a company affiliated with one of the three large corporations he portrayed in his cartoon complained, pulling their advertising. See, this is right in my bailiwick, because I've been there. Oh, stole that from Burrier. I've been there. I had a general manager come to me once, well, more than once, several times, and say, if you don't publicly apologize to this company, they're going to pull their advertising dollars. And my comment to the general manager is, why is that my problem? Well, you're an employee here and you're the one that said it. Excuse me, this is talk radio? I have a First Amendment right to say anything I want or almost anything? Since we're not in a theater, I can yell, fire! And obviously there's new PC correct hate speech that I can't say, which is just absurd. But let's throw it back at him. Okay? So he does this cartoon in which he says that the CEOs of Deere & Company, Monsanto, and DuPont Pioneer made more money than the 2,129 Iowa farmers last year, combined. A large, a large affiliated company was insulted and canceled their advertisement with the paper, thus resulting in the reprimand of my editor and cancellation of its Friday cartoon, which Rick has done for 21 years. 21 years. He published over 1,000 cartoons. The CEOs of the ag giants earned about $52.9 million last year, based on recording data. Monsanto and DuPont, the parent of Johnson-based Pioneer, are large seed and chemical companies, and Deere, as you know, nothing runs like a deer. Profits for the three companies, all with large operations across Iowa, have also declined as farm income has been squeezed. After peaking in 2013, U.S. farm income this year is projected to fall to $183 billion, its lowest level since 2002. Oh, by the way, shh, don't tell anybody, but there's a farm crisis coming. I know. I wasn't supposed to say anything, but I want you to be warned.
Let the cat out of the bag.
There's a farm crisis coming, just like the one we had back in, what was it, like 77 or 78?
It's not going to be one every year.
It's not going to be pretty. So do you think, here's the question, 244-0077. Now I want you to call in, because if I'm wrong, tell me. I'm wrong, I want to know. If I'm wrong, I respect you in telling me, Mac, you're wrong. That's going too far. Okay, I want to hear it. Am I wrong in asking you to call the Fort Dodge Messenger and say, hey, why'd you fire this guy? You think you lost a little money from one of the advertisers. I'm going to stop reading. I'm going to stop subscribing. So there won't be anybody to read your newspaper except the CEOs. I don't know Rick Friday, by the way. I haven't spoken to Rick Friday. Maybe he's a terrible guy. I don't know.
Is he relation to Joe Friday?
But you don't get fired from a job after 21 years for speaking your mind. He didn't say anything crude. He didn't say anything rude. He didn't knock some hot social issue. He just, rubbed a CEO of $1 billion company the wrong way. And he loses his 21-year job.
There's an answer to speech you don't like. It's called more speech.
Yeah. I've always told people, we wouldn't have freedom of speech if nobody said things people didn't want to hear. If everybody said what everybody wanted to hear, then there'd be no freedom of speech.
Well, the concept of free speech is not to protect popular speech, it's to protect unpopular speech. And you give a dog enough rope, they'll eventually hang themselves. So it's a lesson for those who are trying to shut down Donald Trump, trying to shut down whoever. You just let people keep talking, and they'll eventually hang themselves with the rope you give them.
Publisher Larry Bushman said he couldn't say Monday why Farm News would no longer run Friday's cartoons, adding it was an editorial decision. So what do? It's an editorial decision. You go ask the editor. Farm News editor Larry Kirchner said he couldn't comment about the decision. So 515-244-0077, or you can text us on the Service Legends Truth text line at 515-809-0993. Should Rick Friday have been fired for expressing his opinion in a cartoon? What are those guys, Muslims up there? They don't like what's in a cartoon, so they fire people? We'll talk about it next.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 3 o'clock, 321, third day of May in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Welcome to Max World Live on a Tuesday. And tomorrow, what a tragedy. The two missionaries that were murdered in Jamaica. You may have already heard this, but if not, let me be the first one to tell you the tragedy here. One of them is from Des Moines. In fact, is sponsored primarily by one of the pastors that we have here on 99.3 The Truth. And that is Todd Stiles at First Family Church, or First Family Church, right? And if I get the story right, and don't darn me if I get this wrong, but my oldest daughter and her family go to that church, and I believe that she knows the wife of the deceased. And it's an absolute tragedy. And we always tell you that, oh, yeah, you think persecution is because you have a genderless bathroom at Target, which I understand. That's a big deal to some people.
Big deal.
Huh?
A big deal.
Well, the only reason that's a big deal is because of the slippery slope, but that's beside the point.
Well, I mean, it's a big deal to the left.
Yeah, right, it is. And dear, quote unquote, dear left, I don't care. Whatever you need to do, okay, to make you feel impotent, okay? Because I'm spending my eternity with Jesus in heaven. I don't know where you're going to spend yours. So tomorrow, Todd Stiles, Pastor Todd Stiles from First Family Church will be in on the radio to talk about this, because I want the emotions of the church. I mean, this is a tragedy. You sponsor, you financially support a missionary. The family goes to your church. They're homeschoolers. And the husband, the father, killed, murdered. The details are slowly trickling out, but this was not an accident. This was not oops, I shot my gun off. These guys were killed for what they do for you and me. And that's Matthew 28, spreading the gospel.
So in 2016, men and women are still being martyred for their faith.
And it's just begun. Absolutely just begun. So that'll be our show tomorrow, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen. Coming up next hour, Greg Baker, who's with the family leader, is going to come in and talk about, what is it, Thursday's the prayer?
Thursday is the National Day of Prayer here in the United States, and there is a prayer service at the Iowa State Capitol at 12 noon on Thursday. That's this Thursday. You can head over to the Iowa State Capitol grounds, and many folks will be there praying.
Yeah,
Greg's going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, and don't forget, a week from Thursday is the Religious Freedom Summit.
That's right.
The Holiday Inn, Fleur. I think I'm getting that. Are they? I should get the right name for that, because I'm old. I'm just calling it the Holiday Inn on Fleur.
Airport Holiday Inn.
Yeah,
Airport Holiday Inn. Faith at Work, Is It Legal luncheon featuring Kelly Shackelford and Rick Box. That is a week from this Thursday, May 12th. It's a luncheon. You can find out details about that at faithatworkiowa.org. Of course, 99.3 will be there, and we're quite excited about it.
Yep. All right. So I don't do this very often. In fact, I don't think I've ever done it on this radio station. In 5 years. I don't think I've ever done this. I've asked you, the listener, to call and nicely be nice. We don't need to be mean. We don't need to be, crabby pants like the progressive left. But I think you should call the Fort Dodge Messenger, which prints a weekly publication called the Farm News, and ask them to please rehire Rick Friday. Rick put out a cartoon where one guy says, boy, there's not much profit in farming anymore. And the other farmer says, well, sure, if you're the CEO of Deere & Company, Monsanto, or DuPont, they made more money than all the Iowa farmers combined. You know how many Iowa farmers there are? 2,129. I don't know how they got that number, but they did.
Mac, you know what I think the real root of the error here is, and that is, and I mean no disrespect to Rick Friday, don't know the man, but this is an art. Just because it's a sketch doesn't make it a cartoon. And just because, I guess technically it's a cartoon, but really what you have here is the potential for slander, right? Because this is just an image where they've named corporations by name and actually put facts out about them. Now, I don't know if the facts are true. I don't know if the facts are accurate. The image itself has no source text, so they're unsubstantiated claims in and of themselves. And because I think he named the corporations by name, it's considered or would be considered possibly more slanderous than if he had just referenced corporations in general. Corporate farming is where all the profit is, if he had said something like that. But I think he gets into trouble when you've got right next to the Monsanto ad a cartoon that is slamming the Monsanto or John Deere or DuPont corporations.
Can I say something probably insensitive for just a moment?
As long as you direct it at Frank, yeah.
What's new?
And I don't mean this tongue in cheek. I mean this as a question to you, Chris, or anybody who's listening. What's the difference between the Fort Dodge Messenger and the Muslims? If you print a cartoon that is in fact, if you print any image of Muhammad, they'll kill you.
Right. What's the difference between
this guy prints something about a local company, three big local companies, and they fire him?
Yeah. The difference is murder. That's the difference.
Well,
right. Islam has actually retaliated and killed people for that.
Yeah.
And it's also considered a blasphemous religious offense. So there's one is you've got religion, two you've got murder. There's a considerable amount of difference. This is simply just a local newspaper that made an editorial decision to say, you know what, if this is the way that this cartoon is going to be handled, then we don't need this kind of stress. Look, this is a weekly publication that addresses farm news. I don't think this paper is trying to go to war with the corporate farming. In fact, I don't think they would be wise to do so.
Well,
but why would they allow this company to? They just don't like it when people lose their job when they're exercising their First Amendment.
Sure, I understand that, but we don't know that that's the entire. I mean, now, right? The assumption is, and of course, it's probably
it's not an assumption; it's the truth.
Well, you never know. There could be more data, but even if the gentleman lost his job, lost his opportunity to put his cartoon in this paper, they made as they said, they made an editorial decision. The newspaper said, you know what, this little cartoon.
They didn't make an editorial decision. They made a business. They made a ching.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. They made a business decision. And look, this is a weekly farm paper that goes out in Fort Dodge. They need the revenue from companies like Monsanto and DuPont and John Deere. They need that revenue to continue to do the work that they want to do. And no offense to Rick Friday, I don't know the gentleman, but if that means that he can't have his cartoons published in the paper, if he's not willing to stop saying things like that, why is that a bad decision on their part?
On whose part?
On the part of the magazine or the paper. Newspaper. I'm sorry, the newspaper.
It's the First Amendment.
They're not stopping his First Amendment. They're making a choice not to run it. They have how come
that's kind of sketchy.
No, it's not. They're making a decision to say, look, we publish this paper. You have the freedom to say whatever you want, and we too have the freedom not to publish whatever you want. The newspaper is not required to publish anything someone writes. That's not a requirement of any publication. We're a radio station. Just because somebody has something to say doesn't mean that I want them to say it on 99.3 FM. I have the right to say, you know what, you're not going to say that on this station. It's very simple. I think a newspaper would have that same right.
515-244-0077. If I said something like that, would you back me up? If John Deere and Company called and said, listen, you either get rid of Mac or we're not going to advertise with you anymore. He said that big, powerful corporate farms are killing the little guy.
Well, you've already said it, and I would say, well, is he substantiated? Are the claims substantiated? That's another thing. And again, this is a cartoon. This is an article written where you can look up the facts necessarily, or he's citing particular things. It's just a bold claim.
Well, the left's punching bag is generally Monsanto and Big Ag.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering out loud if Big Farm is taking over, knocking the little guy out, or is the little guy handing it over willingly? Because no young kids want to work on the farm anymore. They just as soon go up, and they would like to look at the girls during the summertime at Adventureland as to work on the farm, baling hay, doing sod work, the normal summer job.
Is that the normal choice? You can this summer you can either detassel some corn or you can go to Adventureland and
flirt with the girls.
That's kind of it.
That's it.
Because McDonald's has been taken over by the retirees. It's not a fast food job anymore.
Hey, man, look, I'm thinking about going to McDonald's. They make $15 an hour over there. I can flip fries for that.
515-244-0077. Let's go to the phones where Deb is standing by. Deb, you're live in Mac's World. How you doing today?
Hi, Mac.
Hi.
I saw the cartoon yesterday, and I don't really know the facts behind it. If that's true, I would guess that probably it is. But I was thinking about 2,000 years ago, there was a man who was put in prison for calling out the ruler of a country, and he lost his head over it.
Mm-hmm.
You know who that was?
John the Baptist?
Yep.
Yep.
And when he was sitting in prison, he sent his disciples to ask a certain man a question. And the question was, are you the guy, or are we supposed to be looking for someone else? And why do you think he asked him that question?
Why do I think he asked him this? Because he wanted to know if he was going to die for the real deal or just some joker.
Or that he either wanted to know if he was going to die for the real deal, or he wanted to know, hey, are you going to save me here?
Oh, that's true.
I'm proclaiming truth. Because we all know what he said about Herod was the truth.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And he lost his head for it.
As I recall, and Frank, help me out with this because you're the biblical expert, didn't Jesus kind of say something like, it's not my job to go save John the Baptist. He's done his work. I'll see him in heaven. Am I all wrong on that? Is that somebody else?
He said no greater man born of woman than John the Baptist, but...
He said, go back and tell him the blind see, the lame walk. He didn't really specifically answer John's question. He didn't say, yeah, I am him.
Okay.
He just said, go back and tell him, here's the evidence.
Well, some of the people were inquiring of John whether they actually wasn't sure if he was Elijah,
right?
Moses,
right?
They were kind of concerned who John was, and they were kind of trying to find.
But this question was from John himself while he was in prison. My point being is he spoke truth, and he got his head cut off for it.
Yeah.
And
are you saying we should cut Rick's head off?
No, I'm saying this company has the right to fire and hire whoever they want. Whether or not this man spoke the truth doesn't matter. I mean, if they're going to say, hey, we're firing you because we're going to lose revenue if we don't, that's on them. I don't like it any more than, Mac, what if somebody comes in and buys your company because you own this radio station, right?
A very large corporation owns it. I get the opportunity to be here every afternoon and serve
what if
them.
they come in and they say to you, you said something offensive and now we're going to fire you?
And Deb, how long have you listened to me? Have you listened to me for many years?
Oh, gosh, years, yeah.
Okay, that's why I got fired at 98.3. Because the general manager, remember I used to have View from the Pew every Friday.
Yep.
And the general manager came to me one day and said, and I quote, I don't want any more Jesus talk on this radio station. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, you do this View from a Pew on Fridays, and you're not going to do it anymore, or I'm going to fire you. And I looked at him and I said, then you better fire me, because I'm going on the radio. This was a Thursday. I'm going on the radio tomorrow, and I'm talking about Jesus. And he took me in the HR person's office, and I was fired. So I get that.
And then what happened?
I get that.
And then this was born.
Yeah, and then, right. God had a bigger plan, didn't he, Deb?
He did. He does.
Yep.
He does.
All right, Deb, I appreciate you listening, and I always appreciate your input. Thank you very, very much. We're coming back live, 515-244-0077. Should Rick have been fired for putting this cartoon up? I'm getting some pushback that maybe that was the company's right. We'll talk about it when we come back.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs,
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, 3:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. And then Greg Baker.
Oh, Greg Baker.
From the Family Leader will be here because Thursday is National Prayer Day.
Yes, National Day of Prayer is Thursday, May 5th. It happens every year, and this Thursday they are having a prayer service, as it were, at the Iowa State Capitol Thursday at noon. Show up, pray for your country, pray for our leaders. It's a good thing, and no doubt all of us are thinking that we need God's aid at this time as we see our country going cuckoo bananas.
And we still have the right.
Absolutely.
We still have the right to get together and pray.
And you know what's really great?
Without a permit.
You know what's really great is I look forward to the day that Christians do this even when it's not okay. You know, right now we take full advantage of the freedoms that we have, and I'm very thankful for them. There are a lot of great lawyers, Kelly Shackelford, First Liberty Institute, guys like that defend our freedom, our right to do these things, to publicly assemble. The Constitution itself gives us that right. But even if the Constitution defends that right, but even if the Constitution wasn't there to defend that right, by God's grace, we have the ability to do what God has called us to do in the face of persecution. And that's very exciting.
You know, I really like that phone call from Deb.
Yeah.
She made more sense than anybody else in this room today.
Oh, there you go.
And that was, she took the position that is, what do I want to say? As Van Harden would say, it's in the purple area. It's not completely blue and it's not completely red. It is the way it is. That the Fort Dodge Messenger had every right to drop Rick Friday's cartoon, or I'm sorry, drop Rick Friday as a cartoonist after 21 years. And I don't know if Deb meant to say this, but what I also heard her say, so I'm putting words in her mouth now. I also heard her say, and Mac, you have the right to complain about it on the radio. And that completes the circle. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, I think your assessment is absolutely right, and that's what should happen. See, you have the freedom, the free press, to express your opinion, right? He has the freedom to express his opinion. The difference is, and I think Deb pointed this out quite right, that the broadcaster or the media itself, though, is not compelled, required, or forced, and should not be forced to carry material that they don't want to. Think about this for just a minute, because if we say that the Fort Dodge Farmer Weekly has to carry Friday's cartoon, then someone can come to 99.3 and say you have to carry X program. And I don't think so. It's just like what's going on in our country right now, where they're saying, you know what, you have a bathroom, well, that bathroom has to be, by law, accessible to all these different people groups or whatever the case may be. We've got government coming in and going to bakers and going to photographers and things like this and saying you must do certain things. As a business, I think the business should retain the right to not carry an article or a cartoon created by someone for whatever purpose they want. Maybe they were just sick of doing it. They were like, you know what, this is kind of boring and this is a good excuse to get rid of it. You know, maybe they were tired of you over at that other radio station, Mac, and were just looking for a reason to drop you.
Oh, he was tired of me, all right. he was really tired of me. See, I'm not the best employee. I know you'd never understand that.
Yeah, that's surprising to me.
That's really shocking, isn't it?
So easy to get along with.
Because your title, I'm not talking to you, Chris, but over at this other radio station, this guy had years less of experience than I did. Right. He was younger than I was, but he thought because he had a title behind his name, that made him a big deal. And I don't respect big deals.
Right.
It's like man's law. I'm a scofflaw when it comes to man's law. You want me to give you an example? Sure. You drive from Iowa, cross the border into Nebraska, and the speed limit changes. So who do I pay attention to, Iowa or Nebraska? See, I listen to God's law, and God's law tells me that I have every right to talk about Jesus whenever I want, and that man said I couldn't anymore, and he said, if you don't stop that, I'm going to fire you. And I said, hurry, get the HR lady, let's get this job done. Now, no radio station, no one announcer or talk show host is ever bigger than the radio station. Just, I want you to know that. I learned that many years ago. Actually, I learned it sitting in the owner's chair, not in the talker's chair. But if anybody, Frank, thinks that something's going to die, Frank, if they disappear from the show, Frank, they're wrong. I'm wrong, Mac. I'm wrong, Mac.
I think people just need to get a thicker skin.
No kidding.
And if you have signed a confidentiality or a non-disclosure agreement, that would be one thing that he would be reflecting badly upon their company. That would be grounds for being fired. But if he's some freelance reporter, don't they know what they're getting when they signed him up? If he's,
I don't know, 21 years though, Frank. I mean, what have you ever done for 21 years?
Good question. I've been alive, but as dad.
I mean, 21 years. That's a long, long time. I don't think oh, wait. Next Wednesday, I will have been married 25 straight years.
Well, there you go.
So I have done something more than 21. I didn't do it well, but I've done it. 515-244-0077. By the way, what did our lawyer friend tell you?
Yeah, I got a great call from John, the lawyer, is how he wanted to be identified. Didn't want to go on the air, probably because as a lawyer, he didn't want to jump in on this. But he pointed out that I had mentioned that the cartoon, and the problem that I think that the cartoonist ran into is that he didn't just make a cartoon about corporate farming. He made a cartoon and he named specifically corporate farms by name. Right. And I think the newspaper there at that point would be in danger of, I said possibly slander. He said it would be liable. They would be liable, so it wouldn't be slander. But again, I think that was an onus on the cartoonist. The cartoonist made a choice to name those companies by name. No. He didn't need to do that. He didn't need to do that. He could have made the same point without naming those corporations by name.
Hold on. Now let me give you an example. So you're the boss here, right?
Sure.
So I come to you and I say, I'm going to say this. I show you a copy.
Right.
And you say, sure, go ahead.
Right.
And then after I say it, the advertiser calls up and says, you got to get rid of that guy or I'm not advertising anymore. You have a right. You have a responsibility, Chris, to say to them, no, I approved it. I approve that copy. That editor, what's his name? Batman. I'm trying to find the name here. News editor Larry Kirshner. He has the responsibility as the editor to know what's going to be printed in that paper. He saw that cartoon and allowed it to be printed. It's not Larry's fault. It's Rick's fault. It's not Rick's fault. It's the editor. He's the one that is initially responsible, and he's passing the buck. It's the editor that ought to say, listen, you want to fire somebody, you fire me, because I approved it. But no, he's not going to do that. He's going to let the little guy down the line take the heat.
So you're saying Larry might be CYA-ing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Larry has the publisher is Larry Bushman. Oh, and the editor is Larry Kirshner. So they're both Larrys. Larry, and my other brother, Daryl. But, Bushman came and said, hey, we're not going to lose money on this deal. Get rid of him. Larry Kirshner should have said, no, you get rid of me if you get rid of somebody, because I approve that cartoon. Nothing gets printed in that paper without the editor seeing it. And if something did get printed in that paper without the editor seeing it, it's still the editor's fault.
Well, and I would suspect, based on what happened, that probably is the case. I mean, I imagine that they with a 21-year relationship with this gentleman, that they probably printed his cartoons pretty much sight unseen, pretty much trusted the guy. Hey, your cartoons are successful. We put it in there. Maybe this one missed them. The other thing is, too, how does one handle being confronted? That's another thing. That's something that we all got to take stock in our own lives. Is if you did something and you're confronted, how did you handle it? We don't know how Rick Friday handled this. We don't know that if he got ticked. We don't know if he said, well, I'm going to take you down and the next guy down and the next guy down and the next guy down if you fire me. If that's the case, then the paper probably, if that happened, the paper then made a wise decision and said, you know what? Sounds like you're upset. You want to be a troublemaker. Go make trouble somewhere else.
Well,
we don't want the trouble.
A similar thing happened to Juan Williams over at NPR for saying he got a little nervous when he saw Arab men on an airplane. And I think he said it on a Fox commentary show. And he lost his job at NPR over it. I think a similar situation. I'm of the opinion free speech and more free speech is the answer to all of it. I
don't disagree with free speech. I'm just defending the media's right to end relationships with content providers.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. All right, when we come back, it's Jeopardy time, especially for Jill Gilbert, who's a 7th and 8th grade English teacher in Des Moines. And also, breaking news. Guess what? When you spell it backwards, it spells the same. This is earth-shaking. Get ready for this. This is a big deal. And you're going to only hear it here on Radio Free Iowa. Max World.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes before the top of the hour, 3:50 top of the hour Salem Radio Network news. And then Greg Baker from The Family Leader is going to be here to talk about how 300 pastors came and prayed this year at the Capitol. Who says we're being shut out? Who says that they're telling us we can't talk? It's the Fort Dodge Messenger. That's all. 515-244-0077. I've got other news. First of all, Jill Gilbert. Congratulations, Jill. She's a 7th and 8th grade English teacher at Central Academy. She will play during the 2016 Teachers Tournament on Jeopardy. Do you watch Jeopardy? Well, you don't watch TV.
I haven't watched Jeopardy in a long time. That's pretty cool, though.
Frank, I would think you'd be good at Jeopardy.
No.
No?
I don't know a lot of secular...
All right, let's try one right here and see how you do. So what does Jeopardy do, Bob? It gives the answer, and then you have to say who is...
The question.
You have to ask the question.
You give the question.
All right.
The answer is the question.
All right, so the answer is former DCI agent that wears a hat and looks at the chat on Mac's World.
Who is Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat?
Very good. See, you'd be good at Jeopardy.
Except the questions are harder than that.
Yeah, and I wasn't an agent either. Anyway.
What were you? You were a...
criminalist, forensic scientist.
It's all the same. What's the difference?
I was a civilian. The other ones are sworn.
Sworn? You never swore?
I never swore all my 35 years.
Okay. All right, so now I have breaking news. Are you ready for this? And Jill King she's so funny. I love that woman. I said, guess what words, when put together, spell the same way backwards and frontwards. And I thought I had this really exceptional one, which Chris gave me. She comes back and says radar, Eve, and race car. Radar, R-A-D-A-R-A-D-A-R-A-D-A. I'm just doing that frontwards and backwards. Eve, like Adam and Eve. And then what Frank likes to watch every Sunday go round and round and round and round and round and round.
Turn left.
Race car. But here's my favorite one. Are you ready? Taco Cat. T-A-C-O-C-A-T-A-C-O-C-A-T-A-C-O-C-A-T. Taco Cat. Now, the reason I think that's funny is because I once had a cat who was a mouser. That's the only reason I had him. We had a radio station in an old warehouse, and so there were mice there. So we had a cat there, a beautiful calico cat, by the way, beautiful. And the cat's job was to kill the mice, because here's what mice would do in the winter. Have you ever heard this? Mice will go into your transmitter.
They'll chew wires.
They will seek the heat wherever they can, and as you can imagine, I kept the radio station about 60 degrees, and so in the middle of the winter, the mice would go in there, and what'd you say, Frank?
They'll chew wiring.
Yeah, they'll chew wiring. So I got a cat to get the mice. Guess what I called him?
Taco?
Stir fry.
Stir fry. There you go.
He was a great cat. And by the way, when I left the station, I took the cat with me.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, I took him home. Let the dog eat him.
All right. Mac, what about Bob?
What about Bob?
B-O-B,
that was a movie.
B-O-B.
Oh, well, everybody knows that. What happens? What do you call a guy in the lake with no arms and legs? Bob. I mean, it's the oldest joke in the world.
Hey, Mac.
Never heard that one.
Hold on. You've never heard that one?
No.
Seriously? In all your years?
Never heard that one.
What do you call a guy with no arms and legs in the pool? Bob.
Bobby.
Have you heard? No,
I hadn't heard that either.
hadn't heard it.
Yeah, Mac is a pile of
I have another
wisdom.
joke. Would you like to hear another joke? It's a real good one.
Man, I want to say no.
I want to say you probably are right, sir.
You
Say
won't.
no.
You won't need to fire me over this one.
All right, let's find out. All right, caller, should we fire him? You tell us.
So Chris is a senior in high school,
Yes, I was once.
and he's got a date with the prettiest girl in school for prom.
Yep.
And so he goes to the pharmacy. There's only one pharmacy in this little town. What was the name of the town you grew up in?
El Paso.
Okay, there was only one pharmacy in El Paso.
Several million people. Just one.
One. And he goes to the pharmacist and he says, I need a 1-pound box of chocolates, a 3-pound box of chocolates, and a 5-pound box of chocolates. And I want you to wrap each one individually with different papers so I know which is which. And the pharmacist said, well, that's really interesting. Why are you going to do that? And Chris says, I have a date tonight with the prettiest girl in school. And if she agrees to sit by me in the car, I'm going to give her the 1 pound. If she agrees to hold my hand while we're at the dance, I'm going to give her the 3 pound. And if she kisses me at the end of the night, I'm going to give her the 5-pound box of chocolates. So later that night, Chris, you remember this was you. Chris goes to the prettiest girl in school's house for dinner because it's prom night, and in those days they didn't have the money. You didn't have any money to take Steph out, so you just went over to Steph's house and eat. And so while they were sitting at the table, the dad said, Chris, will you pray? So Chris prays for everybody at the table, every missionary he can think of, every church, every denomination, every business in El Paso, every girl in school, every guy in school, and 20 minutes later, he finally says, amen, and the girl looks at him and says, I had no idea you were so religious. And he says, I had no idea your dad was a pharmacist.
You get it.
No laughter.
Wait, Jeb, where was the laugh track?
No one thought that was funny. See, he told the pharmacist, let me back up here for you. He told the pharmacist that he was going to go out with the prettiest girl in school, and he wanted to hold her hand, dance with her, and kiss her.
If you have to explain the joke, it's not very funny.
Apparently you're not getting it. So he goes to the house where the little girl is, realizes that the girl's dad is the pharmacist that he just said he was going to do all this with. So he prayed as much as he could to get out of it.
I remember that day like it was yesterday.
All right, another funny guy. Greg Baker's going to be up next. And we're going to talk about, what do you call a guy who's got no arms and legs in the pond? Bob. No, we're going to talk about how 300 pastors. And this is quite an achievement because, Greg, you got this. This is your deal, right? Yeah, so Greg got 300 pastors to come to the Iowa State Capitol this year and pray. What an amazing thing. See, it's chivalry among pastors to go in and try to convince the legislature to do the right thing is not dead. The pharmacist wished he was dead, but it's not dead. All right. One more thing I want to tell you about. The Iowa DCI is investigating an incident in Boone. Apparently, 2 p.m., officers in Boone responded to a call of a domestic fight, and there's a male bleeding in the neck. They have taken him to the hospital. He's going to be okay. And Latasha Lee of Boone has been arrested and booked into the Boone County Jail. We'll keep you updated on that story and more as we continue on. Remember, tomorrow, the pastor of the missionaries in Jamaica that were murdered, Todd Stiles, will be here with us to talk about what a tragedy that is for the church and why it should have been expected, because Jesus said so. We're coming back live here on The Truth. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth, 99.3. Taco Cat. Taco Cat. Taco Cat.